A gruesome discovery by firefighters and a young man gunned down while walking home. The murder count jumps by 3 overnight.
We have quite a bit of work to do.
It could cost tens of millions of dollars to address flooding in Pinewood Gardens.
The solution is very extensive and very expensive.
The LPGA tournament wraps up with a generous donation, plus our local spelling bee champ heads to Washington, D.C.
Are you excited about it?
Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm Nakia DeVoe, and this is NB12 Weekend. Thanks for joining us this Sunday for NB12 Weekend. Topping news tonight, the murder count jumped to 49 last night after 3 more people were killed in New Providence. 2 were burnt beyond recognition and 1 was shot to death on his way home. Investigators spent most of the night moving from one crime scene to the next. The first was a remote bushy area off of Carmichael Road.
Sometime around 6:50 p.m., police responded to reports of what they thought was a bush fire. Once the fire apparatus arrived on the scene, they found that it was, in fact, a vehicle that was engulfed in flame. They moved to extinguish this vehicle.
But firefighters were not prepared for what they discovered next. When the smoke settled, they found the smoldering remains of 2 people. Officer in charge of the Central Detective Unit, Superintendent Paul Roll, said it is too soon to say when or exactly how the pair died, as the bodies were burnt beyond recognition.
One was in the front seat, passenger seat, and the other in the rear seat. One of them appeared to be a female, and one appeared to be a male, as it stands right now. But of course, we'll have to wait the autopsy in order to confirm whether or not that is in fact so.
The car was also burnt beyond recognition, but Roll says they believe it is either a Dodge Avenger or a Dodge Stratus. Our news team was there as investigators collected evidence from the charred vehicle and the surrounding bushes, and the bodies were taken away from the scene. Roll says while there is little evidence to go on, detectives can confidently say the unidentified victims were murdered. He's also confident they will find out who is responsible.
We have every reason to believe that it is a murder. I don't think that the car just got there by itself, and there seem to have been, the vehicles appeared to have been placed there. Did not seem to have a hood on the vehicle, so it's possible that somebody drove it and dumped it there.
And just over 2 hours later, officers were called to another bushy area, this one on Thompson Lane just off of East Street. A young man identified by family members as 23-year-old Shanrio DeVoe was riddled with bullets while taking a shortcut home through a dirt path leading to Strawn's Corner. He was just a few feet away from his house. DeVoe was reportedly walking with another man and a woman when the incident happened. Roll said the suspects were caught moments later.
Acting on information, officers pursued 2 suspects to the Sunlight Village area, where they cornered both males in an abandoned building. And officers moved in, where they apprehended both of those suspects and recovered a firearm, which we believe is linked to this latest homicide. We'll be dealing with this and hopefully be able to bring some resolution to this matter in a speedy time.
We visited the crime scene again this morning, where we met DeVoe's father and urban renewal officer, Inspector Ricardo Richardson. DeVoe's father, Henry, did not want to be shown on camera, but he did speak with us briefly about his son, who he described as easygoing. The interview only lasted a few seconds. The grieving father was overcome with emotion and walked away in tears.
Tragedy to our family. It come very sooner than we expected, and it's really been tough over the last 12 hours that I haven't been slept yet. The incident occurred, and Still trying, me and the family, my kids and my wife, we still trying to overcome it. You know, and it's been hard for us before all of this, and now it's even tougher. But we're going to overcome it through the faith of the Lord. And my son, he was very a nice person in the community, well known. He was very loving to everybody.
When things like this happen, we try to come out to reach out to the family to let them know that, listen, you know, you had a tragedy. We understand what you feel. We feel what you feel, and try to foster a better working relationship with that family, because along with the community and the police, we could stomp this crime out. It's going to take us some time, but we just have to let the community know that, listen to me, regardless of who it is, we're not going to tolerate these people within our community.
We're told that DeVoe was getting married at the end of the year, but instead of planning a wedding, his family is now planning a funeral. Friends and family members gathered at his home today to comfort his grieving parents. Again, the murder count now stands at 49. Well, police have one more murder suspect in custody. Officers arrested a third person in connection with the murder of 42-year-old Javon Glinton. Police caught the 28-year-old Cordo Avenue resident around 5:15 this morning. Glinton was shot to death on Wednesday. Police say he was standing outside of a home on Cordo Avenue when a silver car with several occupants pulled up and a man hopped out and shot him several times before the car fled the scene. Police are also questioning a 24-year-old Bahamian man and a 32-year-old woman believed to be a Jamaican national in connection with this incident. Last week's record rainfall once again shed light on a long-standing issue in Pinewood Gardens. Thousands of homes were flooded due to the heavy downpour, pushing residents to renew their calls for much-needed improvements to the drainage systems. We sat down with Member of Parliament for the area, Kalis Roll, who said there is no easy fix for his flood-prone constituency.
The problem is very, very extensive. The solution is very extensive and very expensive. I mean, you're looking at putting in an entire drainage system that will run straight into the South Beach area, and that will cost millions of dollars to rectify.
But that's not the only solution for Pinewood. In 2009, an extensive study was done by a group of civil engineers who made several recommendations on how to mitigate flooding in the low-lying area. That report was submitted to the government. But Roll said that all of the solutions would cost tens of millions of dollars.
From a government ability, particularly during difficult economic times like this, I can't say that the solution is readily available. And there are some things that I'm going to look at that may provide some temporary relief and that may increase the standard of living and the level of comfort somewhat.
After a home-by-home assessment, Roll said it will be easier to determine what measures will be practical and effective to implement. He said he is looking into the possibility of raising floors and roofs of homes in the area. But with hurricane season just days away, residents are hoping for a permanent, foolproof solution. Some Bahamians have suggested that the government buy out the homes in Pinewood, knock them all down, and fill the area in before rebuilding. It's a strategy similar to that of New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, who this month announced that the federal government will spend $300 million to buy out flood-prone homes in the Jersey area. Roll said he's not sure that's an option for the Bahamas government.
It's difficult for me to say that those type of plans are easy to execute, but I haven't had any discussion internally with my colleagues in cabinet and with the Prime Minister about that as an option.
The majority of drainage wells in Pinewood Gardens were either severely clogged or simply did not do what they were intended to do. According to the senior engineer responsible for drainage at the Ministry of Works, there are between 85 and 90 deep drainage wells in Pinewood that are expected to drain 610 gallons of water per minute during normal flow. But when the rain pounded the area last Tuesday, some of the wells did not drain at all. Well, with Bahamians still recovering from last week's torrential downpour, one of the country's top insurance companies says the storm should be a heavy reminder that hurricane season is fast approaching and precautions need to be taken to avoid severe losses. Celeste Nixon has the details in this report.
The severe flooding on Tuesday that impacted hundreds of residents in the capital should be a warning to homeowners to properly insure and protect their homes and valuables, according to Kalina Claims Manager Alfonso Brown.
What has transpired over the last few hours should be a lesson in regards to preparing yourself as to how to go about dealing with a hurricane as it comes. Bear in mind, the damage that was encountered was just basically rain damage, but it didn't include the effects of what a hurricane wind would involve as well. So if you see the devastation that rain can cause over a certain amount of hours, you can imagine what a hurricane can do.
After Tuesday's downpour, Brown said they've had a tremendous increase in the volume of calls. He said they are in the initial assessment stages and it is too early to say the extent of damages felt by their customers. Brown said it is a common misconception that homeowners insurance does not cover in flooding when it normally does. He encourages everyone impacted by the flooding to contact their insurance providers as soon as possible.
For the most part, we've been receiving a whole lot of calls in regards to what they are entitled to. What type of cover are they to be, what kind of coverage they should be receiving based on the type of policy that they have. That has increased tremendously in the last couple of hours, but we've been taking care of them as they come in.
Brown warned that people often shortchange themselves with their coverage and advised homeowners to examine their policy and update their coverage as they make improvements to their homes.
Protecting your interests even more by making sure that your coverage is up to date. People set up their policies, and when they set up their policies, they set it up initially at a certain amount. When they're making so many different changes to their home over the years and increasing the value of their home, they never consider increasing the value of their insurances. So just to make sure that they're properly covered, to prevent any sort of payment where they're not satisfied.
Brown also noted that adding features such as an alarm system and hurricane windows can lower your premium. Reporting from B12, I'm Celeste Nixon.